Okay. And it's working. That's good. Okay, let me do this, do that, do. Oh, it'd be good if I hit record.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, conceal carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the War Room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And we are back once again into Saturday. Actually, it's Friday. Once again, it is Friday afternoon, and we are tucked away in the War Room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And joining me this evening is the myth, the man, the legend. It is Magnum.
And I left TJ outside.
And we left TJ outside. Well, I got to adjust this camera. You take it. What have you been up to lately? And I'm going to adjust this camera because I got to get you in it.
Up to lately, Turkey Day, heading out to local businesses, making sure I'm staying shopping local for Christmas and giving donations out. Just trying to be a best community member I can be. And you?
I'm back. So I'm sorry for the little pause, a little delay right there. I'm actually able to get Facebook Live, or not, excuse me, Facebook. Why do I keep saying that? Facebook hates me. I should not give that place any credit at all.
Switch to Parler, man. Parler's rocking.
I am, but I can't do Parler live videos, I don't think.
Yeah, you can.
I can?
Yeah, Mr. Guns and Gears on there.
I'll also have to see how he's doing it. But anyhow, I'm on YouTube Live, and so I'm trying to navigate this, and we got to talking, and I forgot to adjust the camera pre-show. So if you're out there, if you're watching, if you want to comment, say something, you sure can. We will try our best to interact with you. I'm not sure how good I am at typing one-handed, but you'll hear us respond. I may not type it out there, but we'll get it. So yeah, so Thanksgiving, man.
Thanksgiving was great. Had all the family up at the house. I think we would have been arrested in New York, but
yeah,
I don't care.
There was same here. We had more than 10 people here, I'm pretty sure, but we had my kids come and they brought the grandkids, and we even had a friend of one of my daughters came. It was a friend of her and her husband's, and he didn't have a place to go, so he came on out, and we all ate turkey, and we, love my wife. She can cook, but our little turkey, we had to kind of partially nuke it because it didn't get all the way cooked, but I love her to death. She did a good job. Everyone just kind of hung out, no plans, no anything. We just kind of hung out and told stories, and it was a good day.
It has been a great day. So
I hope everyone else had a good and productive Thanksgiving.
I'm thinking they did. I mean, there weren't quite that many people waiting in line for Black Friday in the morning. So,
well, they're extending Black Friday, I think, over a few days now, because they didn't want everyone lining up, I guess.
No,
so
they were still lined up.
So you did go to Black Friday today?
No. My father went out there and told me that the Twin Falls PD had lined up outside a Walmart with the rest of the folks, and I was like, I'm good. I'll stay at home.
Did he say that it was Walmart was just hammered with people, or?
Yeah, it was. Wife and I went out later this afternoon, and Target was still just full. The malls were full, and of course,
right.
I either do small local shops, or if I can't find it here, I'll online it, because I'm not going to Wally World, or
right,
if I can help it.
Well, my wife and my daughters usually go, and they just whether they buy something or not, they would go, and then they'd come home and go back out, and they'd go and they'd eat breakfast and do all kinds of stuff. And they didn't do it this year. I started this full time, and we're doing okay, but we're just kind of gonna have an easy going Christmas, easy going holiday season this year. And my wife didn't feel like going anyhow, cold, tired, whatever. So I'm glad. It was kind of nice to have her home, right?
Definitely.
I enjoyed it.
Better than beating up the mall. That anytime you got to go shopping is terrible.
Oh, it's absolutely horrible. Hey,
except when you go to the gun shop.
Yes, the gun store is good.
I can spend there all the time.
Can I have you just collapse your mic a little bit?
Just a little.
And then move your seat closer. So you're in the video. Look at there. Now you get that. We were getting kind of like that Wilson off of off of.
That's all right. I got a voice and face made for radio.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So have you been able to find any ammo lately? We got to do our ammo reports.
Oh goodness. I stopped in at a local place. I like to hit there a lot last week, and there was quite a few. Hit it on Friday. But no, not really.
I ended up scoring like 250 rounds. 250 rounds last week of 9mm.
All right.
And I got it for normal price. I got it for like $16 per 50.
I'm not. I gotta watch that because I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, it's there. You just got to be in the right place at the right time. It's not very often. This the last I got. I went to, I think it was over at Sportsman's Warehouse. I paid like 50 cents a round.
Yeah. See, I stopped going in there when they did the mask mandate. So.
Yeah, well, I sneak in there because it's occasionally just because of it's work. You have to wear a mask at work.
Yes, I do.
So I consider me. This is how I justify it in my brain. I consider me looking for ammo for my classes. That's work.
I suppose.
So that's the way I justify it to myself. I'll be honest. I go in there and look for some ammo.
Well, I did most of my ammo buying way back before the panic. I'm one of them freaks that watches Arms List or anything else that or the bots, and when they crawl like 1 cent, I buy 5,000 rounds and tuck it away.
Oh, I hear you. There's nothing wrong with that. So I've got my fair share of ammo that I purchased early on, but I've got some bigger classes coming up here starting this spring, and I got people that are struggling to find ammo. And I know that if I have it, I'll just sell it to them for what I bought it for, and then they'll just use it in class.
You can switch over to airsoft. Everybody gets to shoot at each other.
Yeah, eventually. This one part of the class we're going to do is actually Sims rounds or UTM rounds. So that's going to be fun for me.
Those hurt.
They're going to shoot the crap out of me. I'm going to piss off them women, and they're going to shoot the shit out of me. I just know they are.
Good. I think, I'll volunteer to come out and watch.
Yeah, I'm sure you could be there with your first aid kit. I'm waiting.
Yep.
I'm just waiting. Give the man some ice.
Definitely.
So I've been talking about this red dot. So I purchased a red dot about 3 months ago. Had to be about 3 months. I think it's about 3 months ago. And I've been fighting this red dot. And you've been there through most of it. I've been fighting the red dot, right? Finally, I went and bought one like 3 months ago. And then the battle in my brain was, what do I do with this thing? I want to put it on my VP9. Do I want to mill the slide? I don't think I want to mill the slide. Maybe I should mill the slide. Maybe I don't want to mill the slide. What do I want to do? I want a slide. I'll just go buy another slide, right? I'll go buy an optics ready slide, or I'll buy just a slide and mill that slide. And I mean, this is the fight going on in my brain. Then I looked at the slides, and they're like $600 if you can find them. And so then I went to maybe I'll just buy a. Mark said he'd take some hits for me with the UTM. Sweet, I'll let you, Mark. I'll let you take them all. And then I was like, maybe I should buy a VP9 20. They're optic ready. That's pretty much the only difference between the gun. And then I couldn't find any. So then I was like, whatever. And then I found some. About 2 weeks later, I found some. And I didn't pull the trigger on it. And I've been going back and forth. And anyhow, I bought one. It's on order. It should hopefully be here this week. Mark, is my gun going to be here this week? I'll ask him because he'll tell me. So it's coming in, and I'm going to put a Burst Fastfire 3 on it because that's the red dot that I have. And I don't, that's probably a fine red dot. It'll probably work just fine. But that red dot, along with some other brands of red dot, take a certain like a attachment plate, adapter plate, or whatever it is.
Yeah, number 5 plate for that one. Number
5 plate, right? And I got a quick lesson on that. Number 5 plate is not available anywhere.
No, because the Fastfire 3 is one of the more affordable red dot sites.
Yes,
it's a good site. I mean, I wouldn't take it to battle, but if you're doing range work or concealed carry, I mean, as long as you're not dragging yourself across concrete, you'd probably be just fine. Well,
and I got to looking, and I kind of was poking around. Like, well, let's see how widespread of an outage this is for this part. And I went on the HK forum. I'd never been. Every gun manufacturer has an online forum. They just do. And I went on there, and I was poking around, and I heard one guy's like, I can't find this plate. And some guy's like, yeah, join the club. It's not out there. And I was poking around some more, and kind of from the feeling I get is maybe they were going to, like, I won't say re-engineer this plate. I don't know if that's the right word, but they were going to do something, make it better, or I don't know what they're going to do to it. And because they talked about it being available again in January. So that makes me wonder if they had a bunch of the old ones on the market that were fine, but maybe they're going to make it better, or who knows what they're going to do to it. They're going to do that in January, but then the run on guns and red dots and everything else hit, and they quit making that one maybe, and they just emptied everything. They used up all the inventory. That's what I'm thinking happened.
Well, you can hope that your VP9 comes with the plates.
That's
where the run is going, because people are just snatching that VP9 up with the MLS plate.
I'm hoping.
I'm hoping so too.
I'm hoping, because I mean, Glock comes with like 5 or 6 different plates from what I hear.
Yeah, most of them do. Most of the MLS.
Why wouldn't they come with the plates?
Somebody's poor marketing decision.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that find out. Mark says it should be here next week if all goes as planned. I still have to pass the NICS background check. Uh-oh. Red flag.
No, you don't have to pass the next year enhanced concealed carry.
I still have to fill the damn thing out, though.
That's true.
I really hate filling that out. You're right. Good point. They don't have to call it in, which I'm not going to have a problem passing it anyway. They don't have to call it in because I have my Idaho enhanced concealed carry permit. But I do have to fill it out still. I hate filling that stupid thing out.
It's worse now. Did you see they changed the 4473?
I haven't. Well,
so they put the gun information and the owner's home information on the front page.
I wonder what they're setting that thing up for.
Gee,
go figure.
For the non-digital ones that are already available at the touch of a finger.
Whoa, Mark says that HK, they don't give me the plates. Are you kidding me, Mark?
That's terrible.
That is terrible.
That's terrible.
At
least you can get plates for yours. I run a P30, and the only option for that is to send it to a specialty guy for $485, and he only mills for 1 plate. So,
and you did that?
No, I'm running. I'll practice with regular sites.
And I thought, isn't it? Oh, the P30 doesn't have the red dot.
Nope.
That's on your SIG.
It's on my SIG.
Gotcha.
Love the red dot. And I'm.
Why do I have to have such fine taste in firearms? Expensive taste in firearms.
No.
I do want a P30 as well.
They are awesome, and I think you and I were discussing a little bit off here, that brings you that full circle, and with everybody, your full circle of guns. If you're a gun guy at all, you go from single actions to striker fireds to
right.
Actually, most of us probably started at a double single and figured out that we sucked really bad. And then as you progress through the years and you get better and you work those fundamentals, you come right back around to that double single. Mastering that double single, and that P30 sticks out. A really good 92 FS, or now the 92X,
right?
Which is awesome to go after if you're a Beretta fan. I'm a fan of all guns, so
keep up there. There you go. You raise your like that, and I all of a sudden I can't hear it. I'm like, it's not good. So yeah, there's a full circle thing. So you started out with a double single?
I started out with double single. So my
what was your first gun?
My first carry gun was a Ruger P85.
Why did you choose that carry gun?
Well, I was 21 and poor, and it was available at the pawn shop for $189.
Is that I wonder if that's kind of like Tarver's gas station gun.
Yeah, well, it might as well have been. The thing is, it weighs about 83 pounds. You got minute of pie plate, at 5 feet, if you can possibly get it to. The one thing I will say about those old Ruger boat anchors is they will feed anything.
They will,
and consistently run.
I've had them come through class, and they do run.
Yeah, always
they
run.
Are
terrible.
They are absolutely freaking terrible. Do you still have that gun?
I do not. I actually went from a P85, and I got 45 on the brain back then. God reached out and he said, "You need a 45." So I shifted over to a P90.
That wasn't God. That wasn't God who was talking.
It had to be, because it's a funny carry story. So took a trip from Washington State down to Oregon. Washington State was a shall issue state at that point. Just got my permit. Went down to Oregon, which, you're lucky if you can get a permit out of Oregon. And so at the time, your laws were, well, you could keep it in the car, but it had to be unloaded on the dash and visible, or on the seat. Well, I couldn't leave it sitting on my wife's lap at the time. So threw it on the dash of the car, and leaving the gas station with the windows open.
By
in
the way, this is
summertime.
my biggest fear, and I've rolled the windows up just because of this. Say, go on.
Well, I didn't want to break the windows in that car.
That's
But
true.
yeah, whipped out around the corner, and that P90 went flipping right out the window and across the highway. So
Oh my god!
yeah, it
Did it shoot up a trail of sparks?
No. I think I don't actually know if they use stainless steel in it.
I was just wondering.
Skipped across the freeway, had to pull over, go get it. I had some grumpy fella decide he's going to call it in, and he had to make sure he told me about it. I'm going to call that in. I said, well, you call what you want. There's my license plate. I'm going to go on and move on to my father-in-law's house.
Well,
that gun survived. It continued to run. I carried it for about another year, and then
were you like, holy crap? When that flew out of your window, were you like, is there a party that's like, just keep going, just keep going?
oh no. I that one I invested a little bit more money in, and I heard it go skipping across the dash because they're not a light gun. I mean,
No,
they're might as well be 2 inches
Lucky
wide. It was sharp edges. And
Yeah.
link all
you're
over
lucky
the thing.
some guy didn't take out his radiator with that thing.
Yeah, I know. I just probably would have knocked a BMW off the road.
Oh my!
but it survived. Carried it for a few more years. Ended up selling it to a neighbor. So the same neighbor that bought the P85, which was funny.
Oh, really? Did you sell him those guns and then like hurry up and like leave really quick,
No,
move away?
no. He was a good guy, but he was a bit nuttier on guns than I was.
Mark says his first handgun was a Walther P99 40 cal. Doesn't have any more. He says it was a good gun. I think it was a great idea to get rid of that 40 cal. Mark likes 40 cal so much that he had to go out and buy another one not too long ago.
Hey, I've been looking at 40 cal.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
Well, I can handle recoil.
I can handle recoil too, but there's 40 cal is just stupid.
Well, so is 10 millimeter.
No, 10 millimeter is better than 40 cal. You're going to buy a 40 cal?
I've been thinking about it just to have one in the stable.
You're stupid.
I think like this. It's with my conspiracy theorist mind, I have currently in my stable one of every military service gun that the U.S. has used for magazine availability,
Right.
and readiness of ammo. And 40 cals are still on the federal docket and many police departments. So
Are you going to get a 1911 chambered in 40 cal?
I thought about it.
Oh my God.
I already made the sacrilegious move, and I bought a 1911 chambered in 9 millimeter. So, yeah, and a Rock Island nonetheless. So that was my sacrilegious move. But surprisingly enough, for what it is, fit and finish is great. Did a little bit of tuning. That thing is running like a Singer sewing machine now.
You and your
Hey, I took it a step further. I took a $3,200 Springfield Professional, and it is now at a local shop having a red dot put on it.
oh my gosh.
So if it works out, then they're all getting red
And
dots.
they're cutting that slide.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to a full machining on that guy.
45 is a 45. This is an actual 1911.
Yeah.
Not a variant.
No, this is the Springfield Professional. So it's kind of my holy grail of 1911s, the one that I wanted.
And you're
the
putting a
most.
red dot on it.
I am throwing a red dot on it.
Now, which red dot you putting on it?
I actually picked up a Holosun 507K. So it's one of those ones that's meant for the small guns. But
Yeah.
with the dimensions of a 1911, generally
It's narrow on top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're fairly narrow. And the nice thing about the 507K or the 407Ks is you don't have to run suppressor height sights when you mill them.
Right.
It'll actually, you can run it off of standard sights, which is one more thing that I don't have to replace because I don't like buying new sights every couple of years.
So I know who you're having. I think I know who you're having do it. Did he look at you like, are you serious?
Well, we went through about a 45-minute discussion of which one of them I was going to do. And I said, you know what, let's just go on this one because this is the one I carry most of the time.
Right.
I do have one. You've seen it. It's one I've had since I was 23. I've got so much work into that. I'll never get the money out of it. But that's the one that's going to be it'll go in the box with me when I go on the ground.
Right.
And if war ever broke out, that would be my war gun. That thing will feed empty casings. So utterly reliable. And so I figured I would test out this one first and then, branch over into touching my baby.
I think I know you're not the first one to do this by any means, but you're the only guy I know who's gonna put a Personally, he's going to have a red dot on his 1911. That's
Well,
going to be
they're
insane.
out there. There's a lot of cool pictures.
No, there are
a couple of really good companies out there doing some stuff that is just absolutely amazing. You know, the Nighthawk Customs doing their new iOS system.
Yeah, explain that.
iOS is interchangeable optic system. So essentially, the middle of the back of the slide area, it is a cover plate with your choice of rear sights on it, and then you can pick up additional cover plates that literally, you unthread a bolt, push out a pin, slide your new plate on, sight that one in, you're good to go. Now, if you like multiple different sights for multiple different purposes, you can buy additional plates and they just slide in, slide out. You don't have to unthread, new batteries, resight it. Once that thing is sighted in, it's locked into place. So it's a little bit spendy to do, but I think in the long run, if this one turns out on my professional, I'm probably going to send my baby out for iOS.
That's insane, dude. How much is that?
It's starting at about $350 for the milling and whatnot.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
No, not. And you get the rear sight and stuff with it. So
right.
I'll probably do something a little bit bigger, like an RMR cut or I'm loving Holosuns lately. I mean, RMRs are great. There's a lot of other Trigicon, great stuff. But I think Holosun is kicking them in the nuts. So probably go with like a 508T or something that's worthy of that particular gun.
And they just look cool when they got that little solar panel on the top of them.
Oh yeah. That's great too.
That just looks cool, man.
It does. And at 50,000 hours of battery life, and if the battery doesn't work, and I have a 407C on my SIG, it's great when the battery's not there, it still works. So
let me throw this out there for you. And I just had this conversation with the old Cajun cowboy. And this was literally on the phone, like right before I called you. We were talking about red dots on guns, and he says, this is what he hasn't read anything, but he thinks this is the wave of the future. And it's actually pretty cool. We don't know exactly how they would do it, but he goes, what they should come out from the red dots is like a heads up display.
That would be cool.
That would be cool, but we're trying to figure out, because you got to have something to reflect that onto. And if they can figure out how to do it without having like a little piece of glass there, you know what I'm saying? Something.
Yeah, like a. Well, you're gonna have to have something.
I know, but it'd be cool if they could figure out how to do it without, because you would have that technology on there, but it would still be slim. The gun would still be streamlined. You know what I'm saying?
That would be cool. That would be very cool.
So that's what he thinks is coming out. He tells me, and I get 10 degree. He goes, they got that. They can do that, right? He goes, they could split the atom. Like how many years ago? He goes, we have this. They just haven't put it on the market yet. That's what he's telling me.
Well, there's some on the market. I was a Ford and Chevy tech for years. And I remember when the 97, 98 Corvettes first came out.
Yeah.
I had to drive those on the lot. They had a holographic heads up display.
Yeah.
And so that was actually pretty cool. And man, if they can stick it on a 1911, I think I'd be golden.
1911. We're talking like an HK. We don't care about the 1911s.
HKs are good. I love HKs. I'm carrying one today. I will continue to carry one. But the, a 1911 done right,
right.
as reliable as anything else out there. Right magazine choices, knowing what you're doing with it, understanding how the gun functions.
Yes. So here's what I say, and we'll get back to red dots here in a minute, because I want to talk about that a little bit. But with 1911s, I see a lot of I've seen a lot of brand new people go out and buy a 1911. And I think if you're not a gun guy quite yet, does that make sense? That might be a bit much for someone.
No, I agree. I think the 1911 has been called a master's gun. And really what it comes down to is mastering the fundamentals and then understanding your firearm. Glocks are great no matter what flavor, whether they're US made or whether they're Austrian made. They're great in something without a safety. It's a shorter learning curve and you have a singular trigger to work with. A 1911 is something that when done right, and you go out and shoot it,
it's a piece of art.
You should have some proficiency before you go out there.
Yeah.
Know how to manipulate a safety, know where to place your hands where things aren't going to be gouging you. You're not riding certain parts,
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it's more of a master's gun.
I look at 1911s as like, for me anyhow, they're like a piece of artwork. Does that make sense?
It does.
I mean, they work, they're beautiful. For me, it's not for me. It's not my thing. What I don't like is when, when these people show up to class and they've got the little I don't even know the different levels, but they have the Kimber. It's a variant, is what I'm going to call it, or even in the 45, but mostly in the 9mm. They have the Kimber variant, the 9mm, and the little short 3-inch barrel, and they're banging around, and that thing is not feeding. It's not it's jamming every other. It's absolutely freaking horrible. And they're like, 1911, this Kimber, it's not running. Yeah, it's a piece of junk.
Well, first off, it's a Kimber.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, unless you're getting first gen out of, old Oregon or something like that, you can send that one back to them. They can keep it.
Right.
Even the stuff out of their CDP shop is a joke. But anything that essentially is not, if it's not 4 1/4 and over, you are going to run the risk of reliability issues, and
right.
And even you can look at the stuff that's even designed for 9mm, the EMPs. I've had the EMP. They're fun to shoot in that. Would I rely on it? No, absolutely not. If I'm going to have a 4-inch gun or less, it's going to be a polymer wonder, just because they work better. 1911 was never designed for that. Now you can run a 1911 9mm, which is actually shocked me about the Rock Island that I picked up, is they did it right. We have a mutual friend that has a SIG 1911 and 10mm.
Yes.
Beautiful gun. Had some running issues.
And he spent a lot of money on that gun.
He spent a lot of money on the gun, and we reworked it for him. But as I was going through it and figuring out where the issues were on it, one thing that really stood out is you look at the bolt face on it, and the company that did it, SIG, they made a bolt face for that gun off of 45 and then try to stuff a 10mm and a 9mm in the same bolt face. You're not going to get the same lineup. You're not going to get the same lockup. You're not going to get the same extractor tension.
Right.
Just doing it the wrong way. But you look at Rock Island and people want to kick Rock Island in the nuts. I was measuring the bolt face on it, and it's built for a 9mm.
Mm-hmm.
Side with the factory magazine, loaded up with something good. That thing runs awesome.
If I was going to buy some kind of, I'd probably go with 9mm just because that's what I like. But if I was going to go with some kind of 1911 style gun, or what I call a variant, it would probably be a Rock Island. It would. I've always liked. Well, they're affordable.
Yeah,
they're affordable, and that's what draws me in, because Todd's kind of cheap.
I'm a big fan of a lot of Rock Island stuff. I tend to lean towards Springfield because they've got excellent customer service.
Right.
Not always top quality. I mean, I've got the Springfield Professional, and I still had to tune the extractor to get it to run like it was supposed to. But once you know those little things and you've taken care of them, it's,
And see, I just buy a gun, and if I want to change up the trigger because I want a better trigger, I can do that. But I want to run out of a box flawlessly. That's a me thing. I was reading a YouTube live here, and Mark said he sold He just sold a $1,500 Kimber Rapid. Is that what it is?
Rapide, yeah.
Yeah, to a kid in Jerome that had no idea what it was. He just said he always wanted a Kimber. So he probably shouldn't be buying one of those.
No, yeah, I wouldn't waste money on that gun anyways.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not
a big fan of guns that have holes through the slides. It's just an egress for crap to get in. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look up a picture of this thing now. But let's jump back to red dots, though. And first of all, let's say, I bust your balls a lot for 1911s. That's just what I do. I don't care. You do you, and everyone can. I will give you a hard time if I see someone with a 1911. And I will tease you if you're packing a 40 cal. That's just the way it is. Those are my two little hot topics. And if you want to get me going, you start talking about that stuff, and I'll jump right in and tell you what I think.
I always find things funny about the 40 cals. Most people I've seen complain about the snappy recoil, will also tout the awesomeness of the 10mm, which is essentially twice that of the 40, and they'll still run it. And neither one of them to me are a bad caliber. I think there's a purpose for each of them.
There is. And I'm not, so I say I don't like a 40. It's not because I can't shoot the stupid thing. I mean, it is snappy. It's a snappy son of a gun. Now, I personally think 10mm is kind of getting close. It's more like a 45. So it's not as snappy. It's more of a push for me. That's what I feel when I shoot. But the 40, the reason why I don't like the 40 is because and I haven't seen it 9mm took off, and I'm going to take all the credit for that. But I saw a lot of people come into my classes when I first started doing this, probably 7-8 years ago, and come in to the classes, and they all had a 40 cal, and they all had these little tiny 40 cals, and that's when the tiny guns, not tiny, but the smaller guns, right? The compact guns were, and then these women would come in with these 40s, even these guys come in with these 40s, and they'd start shooting them. And I look at them, and the gun is just, it's just beating them. It's just beating them to death. And they think they need to have a gun with a, caliber of a gun that's got a 4 in it. That's typically all they want. And I'm like, can you shoot that another 80 rounds? Can you shoot that another 90 rounds? Because that's how many rounds you got to shoot. And they look at me, and they're like, you see the panic look in their face. And I've even had guys shoot the 40s, and they're like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And I said, well, let me watch you shoot. And I watch them shoot, and they're shooting a 40. And the thing is literally, they have no recoil control over it. It's like coming out of their weak hand. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to watch. And I said, well, try this. Just humor me. Shoot this. And I had them a 9 or something like that, and they shoot it just fine. But they get that 40, and it's just like, wham, the thing's jumping out of there. It's absolutely amazing to me. But they just think they need a 40, just like a lot of people just think they need a freaking 1911.
Well, I think it comes down to that master's mentality again, too.
Right.
If you're going to shoot something of substance, you better know what you're doing. You're not going to pick up a 3-inch 44 Magnum,
right,
and just go to town with it if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And a lot of people make that mistake. It's I
think
made the same mistakes when I started shooting.
It's the bigger is better mentality. That's what a lot of people tend to go to. And that's a mistake, right? I personally think it's a mistake. And I think more and more people are starting to see that.
I think it depends on your level of training.
Well, it does.
Level of, because if you're looking at bullet technology, or you're looking at, incapacitation, we know unless you're hitting the central nervous system, incapacitation doesn't happen immediately.
Right.
You want it to happen faster, right? So, yeah, bullet technology is great, and I can get a 9mm most of the time with the right round will open up to 0.66. 6.5. Right. The same round in a 40 cal or 45 is going to open up significantly more, or at their end size, and generally meet that minimum penetration. So I think it doesn't necessarily matter. It matters more how well you can shoot the gun.
Well, yeah, it's the shot that hits.
Can handle it.
It's just shot that hits, but 9mm, for example, a 9mm, you can get more shots downrange and on target quicker. A lot of people have a hard time managing that recoil on those other guns, and so it's a lot harder for them to get back onto target.
That's true. I think so.
It really is.
Even from someone I shoot a lot,
right?
And that 9mm, even though I can go pretty darn fast, when needed be, and hold on target with pretty much whatever I'm shooting, it is significantly different when shooting a 9mm.
Yeah,
it just tracks.
Well, and here's
nice flat.
And here's what kills me too. I mean, some people think they need these large calibers, right? But they don't like to shoot the large calibers, so they don't shoot the large caliber. They carry the large caliber, but they don't shoot. I'm like, you're not. So they go to the range and they'll shoot a 9mm, but they'll never shoot that 40 cal. Or a couple rounds, and they put it on their hip, and that's good. I'm like, man, if you are afraid to go and shoot that and train with that gun, and afraid to go and shoot it on the range, or maybe you can't afford to shoot it, right? Because those rounds can get a little, not much, but a little pricier than the 9mm. You probably shouldn't even have that gun, in my mind. If you're not willing to put the trigger time in, or you're scared because you got a bad flinch with it, or it hurts, I can't stand to shoot that thing. There's no point in that.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
I mean, I see that a lot.
Although I did pick up a 9mm 1911 so I could shoot it more.
There you go.
Too expensive to shoot the big boy.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, you've shot your 45s a bunch, and so you're on a different level. I'm referring to like the new people with guns, right? I mean, you got a 9, so you can afford to shoot it more. It's in a 1911, so all your switches, levers, and buttons and everything is, they're all the same thing. So, I understand that, but I mean, I've seen a lot. I mean, I want to say 90% of my people that leave my class, it's probably the only time they're going to fire that gun. Honestly, they will not take more classes. They are not going to go, especially right now. They're not going to go out and shoot that much. They may chamber around, put it in a freaking holster, and carry that gun with them. And that gun, they may not fire that gun for a year or more.
Yeah,
I guarantee you that's what it is. I guarantee that's what happens. You can see it in their faces. I mean, you can, and they aren't even going to remember if that gun is even loaded.
It then becomes the mask.
Yes, it does.
It's a comfort piece.
It's a comfort piece. So let's jump back to the red dots. I had a gentleman. I'm not going to give out his name or anything like that. I didn't ask, but he didn't give me permission. But he took a class from me last week. Yeah. No, this week. This week is on Monday. And he had one of my fabled. And he had one of the VP9 2020s with a red dot on it. And he had that. Actually, I shot that gun, helped him, sight in that red dot, get it dialed in, and that's when he left, and I turned around and ordered mine. But but it was an interesting thing. He could shoot. I made him shoot. I made him shoot my VP9 with the iron sights on it, right? Because his didn't have the suppressor height sights, or he didn't have that on his yet. But he had a little bit of, it was onset like Parkinson's. So he shook pretty good, and when he was shooting, and he could shoot okay with the open sights, but that red dot, I mean, that saved his life. That was a godsend for him. It really was. It was an actual godsend for him. He shot great. I mean, I took him, we shoot pretty close out there. I took him way back to the other end, and with that red dot, and he's ringing those steel plates, and he's still shaking, right? It was easier for him to shoot. And so I could definitely see where red dot can provide those advantages. And I will say that my vision is not gone yet. I mean, I can still see some stuff, but I find myself squinting a lot more. I find, even sights on the firearm, it's still, I can't get it as crystal clear as I used to, if that makes any sense. And I've always had like perfect vision. And just over the last year, it's going downhill. And so, I'm gearing up with a red dot, man. I may need it. I mean, my vision may get to a point where I need it. I'm getting old.
That's one of the big reasons I started moving on to the red dot.
Yes.
I mean, you start getting into the high vis front sights, and they start looking like stop signs out at the end, and they cover up the entire target, which is, it's great for flashlight picture and, putting some rounds into a chest. But if you're really trying to focus on that razor's edge and you can't get it anymore, and it's just not, if you're not hitting, 1.5 groups at 15 yards and shooting the buttons off the bad guy, you got to start looking at other options. And I think the nice thing about the red dot is it gives you both of those things. You get the flash sight picture. So essentially your target or your intended, whatever you're shooting at, becomes your front sight.
Right.
Your rear sight is the dot. You line it up, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the center of the window. It's wherever that dot is, and you just focus on the trigger press, and you can get really razor's edge if you start focusing on the top of that dot. It is definitely going to be the wave of the future. Now, being able to shoot iron sights, you got to have that skill.
Oh, no, you
got to have that skill.
You definitely have that. But I mean, the red dot's there to help out, and it's there to, I think it's going to help a lot. Now, it's going to help a lot of people that may struggle with shooting because of eyesight or Parkinson's or whatever, right? And enable them to be able to protect themselves better and possibly be a little more proficient with the firearm.
Safer too, because they don't put the laser on their gun and then whiz it around the house, and
exactly.
If I was a criminal at any point in my life, I'd be looking for where the laser's coming from.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, it is still back in my mind too that this is you got to know where to draw the line too, because it does help people. But then again, I'm gonna fall back on this too, devil's advocate a little bit, because I've mentioned this before. Is you got more and more people shooting smaller guns. Smaller guns can be a little harder to shoot at distances to a certain extent, and they can tend to be a little snappy. So newer people struggle with them anyway to a certain extent. And now they're coming out with red dots on these guns. So is that going to give the guy that has come and taken my concealed carry class, who shot 98 rounds in class, the guy that doesn't go and shoot ever, and they're out there, is that going to give that guy the hero mentality that he can be in public somewhere in Walmart or wherever he wants to be, and he's going to give him the confidence to try and take out a shooter at like 100 feet with that little sky pistol and that little red dot on it? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like a false sense of.
I think anybody that is at the beginning of that journey has that mentality anyways.
They do, but the red dot is going to give him that even more, I think.
Well, at least it gives them a better chance if they try.
It
right?
does, but it's a false sense of I can do it. Does that make sense? That's just
True.
me. It's because that's the person who doesn't go out and shoot, and maybe has never shot with you know what I'm saying, with iron sights, because his gun, he bought a package deal. It came equipped with a red dot, and maybe he hasn't even dialed the red dot. I mean, do you know what I'm saying? I mean, and he may not realize that, hey, look, to a certain extent, those red dots, you dial them in at certain distances, right? If you're back really far, it's not going to be,
or even if you're up close, you have height over bore.
Yeah.
And so, but I think anything like that to give the civilian an advantage over the predator is a good thing. I think the mentality of it, though, really has to come from that training where you have to start. You can't be the sheepdog mentality. It's not your job.
I got a gun with a red dot. It's my magic talisman. And if I carry it with me, it's a symbol and nothing bad will happen to me.
True.
Because that's exactly what people think. I mean, I hate to say it. That's what a lot of people think, though. I got a permit.
Or it becomes the hammer, and everything looks like a nail.
Oh my gosh. That's, they get weeded out pretty quick.
They do. They do. But the nice thing is they provide cover targets so that you can actually take the shot if you have to, or you can run away.
Or he's turned around shooting everyone with a gun because he's going to put out all the fires.
Yeah.
And they're not all bad guns.
Yeah. That's why I love open carriers.
Yeah.
Open carriers and the tactical backpack guys. Anything with Molly on, I know they got a gun. That's the guy I'm going to avoid. That's the shoot me first bag.
But I don't know. I'm excited to possibly get a red dot maybe next year. I don't freaking whenever my plates come available. This pissing me off. I'm ready to
should have the sight milled, man.
No.
Or put the goofy little plate on top just to try it out.
I got two guns now. And for me, it made more sense. And until I can get the trigger upgraded and then the new one, I'm just gonna swap slides.
You got that M&P, right?
I do.
M&P would have been a good one to throw it on.
Yeah, but HK is my actual carry gun. I think I want it on my actual carry gun. That's so. I've got a few handguns, right? I don't got a bunch. I got a few. Do I shoot them all? No. Who shoots them? People in class, right? What gun does Todd shoot? When you guys show up and say, let's shoot a gun, what do I pull up? My VP9, right? Because it's my carry gun. That's the one I'm going to carry. So that's the one that I want to put all my time into. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? That's what I want to get all my trigger time behind. I'm just weird that way. You could give me, I could have 48 guns. I could lay them all out on the table, handguns, and I'm probably just going to go over and pick up that VP9 because that's the one I shoot the most. That's the one I'm comfortable with. That's the one I freaking carry right now. I can shoot the others, but I don't have holsters for the other ones.
Well, I'm a carry rotation freak. My kids know it. Saturday is gun change day. Look at it as a mastery of everything.
That's my underwear change day.
It's got a label on it.
That's right.
Just to remember.
Saturday, number 1 Saturday, number 2 Saturday, number 3 Saturday.
They wash at the end of the month.
That's exactly. If it doesn't stand, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. If it's not standing up on its own, I got another week.
You're good to go. or the wife's not mad.
That's exactly.
But the one philosophy I try to adhere to is that, the gun you fight with may not be your own.
Right.
And so, I mean, the best case scenario is what you want, but if you're in a tangle and ABC bad guy drops their gun and you're close proximity, you're working with bladed objects or blunt objects or just force on force, hand to hand, and you disarm, you may not be firing your gun. So having a basic understanding of everything else that's out there and being able to hit that sight picture and a consistent, confident trigger press on whatever it is you're doing. And that's kind of the philosophy I live by. So I got one of every one so that I can rotate through and be used to a striker fiber, a double single. Of course, always the 1911 best trigger ever made, but and then of course arms manipulation for each one of those, because I never know what I may come up against, and pray to God that never happens. But I've been in more than one fight where I didn't exactly have to, I didn't end up the way I started.
Right.
So,
Well, I'm going to start carrying and training with my yeet can, and then that's all there is to it.
all right. That one's easy. Just grab a water bottle and shake it around. It'd be just like carrying that.
It is.
around.
It is insane. That thing's fun though. It really is fun. It still smells like bacon. But I'm plant-based now, so I can't lick the barrel to find out if it tastes like bacon anymore. Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, I've enjoyed the last podcast. You weren't here, but the last one I did last week and this one, because I'm really trying to focus more on just gun stuff. I know this other stuff's important, and we actually have a couple news stories here that I'm going to bring up and we'll listen to it and discuss. But I really need something in my life where I can just put it all away and just talk about gun stuff and talk about the fun stuff. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And just check everything at the door. And I know I've got to have this stuff in it. This is part of a gun podcast and it's there, but I'm going to try not to, unless there's some huge breaking news, I'm going to try not to make it the focus of the actual podcast anymore, because we got caught up in that for like the last however many months, and it was fine. It needed to be done, but I am ready just to relax. And
I'm fairly certain we're going to have plenty of opportunities coming.
You think so?
I think it's already in the news.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. So I'm just like here, but I got my cheat sheets right here. So let's listen to this, and then we shall discuss it.
The City of Philadelphia facing a new lawsuit over the decision to shut down its gun permit unit over coronavirus concerns. The lawsuit claims the city is infringing on residents' Second Amendment rights and, quote, treating constitutionally necessary firearm-related services as non-essential and less important than other programs and services they offer the public. Here now to discuss, attorney and gun rights activist Colion Noir. Colion, thank you for being here. Good morning to you. So tell us a little bit about this lawsuit, what the allegations are, and whether you think the allegations are justified.
So essentially what's happening is that the city of Philadelphia is utilizing COVID as an excuse to stop the permitting process in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is not even known for having a relatively easy permitting process to begin with prior to COVID. And so now they're trying to stop it all together for a period of time because of COVID. And so what you're seeing happening is you're seeing gun advocacy groups filing lawsuits to say that you're denying people their right to own firearms, not only within their homes, but outside of their homes with respect to carrying a firearm. And so from my standpoint, I would say that the anti-gun lobby and groups have done a really good job of making people believe that the right to own a firearm and the ability to carry a firearm outside your home is a privilege instead of a right. And they've done a really good job of doing that up until this point. But I think now what's happening is you're starting to see groups stand up against that and saying, no, this is a constitutional right. And if criminals don't stop being criminals because of COVID, the government shouldn't deny people's right to carry a firearm because of COVID.
Colion, we have a statement from the city of Philadelphia to Fox and Friends. This is what it says. The gun permit unit had to close temporarily due to several police department employees testing positive for COVID-19. As the court noted when denying plaintiffs' emergency injunction motion, the closure was necessary to protect the health of others in that unit or individuals visiting that office, and that the city has plans to reopen the gun permit office in the very near future. So what do you say to those who say it was simply a safety mechanism? It's temporary. It'll be back. There's no politics here. What do you say?
I would be more inclined to agree with that if they weren't engaging in the same behavior for all of the other permitting aspects of the city, as far as driver's license, so forth and so on, especially considering that there are other examples out there of other cities who are doing their best to mitigate the health concerns while still allowing people to become permitted with respect to the Second Amendment. And again, you're seeing this over and over again where we see the Second Amendment being treated like a stepchild instead of the right that it is. So I'd be more inclined to believe it if there weren't already alternative measures being in place that they could utilize, but they're just choosing not to and just taking the easy route and just shutting everything down, which I think is oddly convenient for them.
He said he thought that was oddly convenient for them. I agree. I mean, I agree with them. They're doing this for a reason. And they're using COVID as the excuse, because I was thinking about this earlier when I was listening to this, even locally when we had, even at the beginning of COVID, when they shut down the DMV and stuff like that, what did they say? They came out and they made a statement, said, hey, look, if you need to renew your registration, this is going to be good through like January. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's actually still in place.
And so they've extended that, and they could easily, and I think some states, I think, actually did that with their concealed carry permits too. But this gives Philadelphia this good, just this reason, this COVID-19's excuse just to shut it down, because they aren't super firearms friendly anyhow over there. And this is just one of the ways. This is one of the ways we've talked about. I mentioned it on the radio show a bunch. It's not very often that they're going to come straight on after your rights. They're going to get it over here and over here from all these different avenues, all these different directions, and they're just going to whittle it away.
Well, the trick is they have to trick you into giving it up for the greater good.
Right.
And we saw this back at the end of the Barack Obama administration with their attorney general and how they wanted to address so-called public gun violence as part of a national health issue.
Right.
And now that we conveniently have a national health issue, you see these really blue areas using COVID-19 or using the health codes or even broad powers going out to the local health departments, where they can pass, sweeping restrictions on not just trying to mask mandate you, but it will extend into firearms. And as we can see, obviously in that state, it's extended to firearms. I know that it's extended into Washington State. My daughter is up there trying to get her permit. Can't get it all shut down.
Right.
So it's just another avenue into convincing you that, drop your rights for the greater good.
And don't let any good emergency go to waste.
Exactly.
It's exactly what they're going to do. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year, I think. Interesting 4 years, probably.
I will not comply. I will not comply.
We're good. I get it. So let's throw up this other news story. It's about Biden and his gun tax, but then and we need to hear about that a little bit. But I forget the gentleman's name. I'm not prepared. I didn't write the info down in front of me. This gentleman comes on and he talks about all the amount of new guns that were sold in the last year, within the last year. He goes, and we have amazing, and there's like 7 million new gun owners. 7 million new gun owners. But he says, we're just now getting into the time of the year that usually is the highest, we sell the most guns in the last 2 months of the year. And we're just now getting into that. So this is, I don't know, this will be pretty interesting to see what happens, but we'll take a listen to him.
Every day that we do nothing
Scary
about this epidemic of assaults and assault weapons, high capacity magazines in our streets, is an insult. As president, I promise you, I will get these weapons of war off the street again.
That's Joe Biden back in February giving his take on assault weapons as details on his gun policy come to light. The Biden administration is expected to pursue a mandatory registration under the National Firearms Act, $200 tax for each assault rifle, and an extra $200 tax for each high-capacity magazine. Let's bring in Mark Oliva, Director of Public Affairs for the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Mark, good to see you. You add these numbers up. You're a gun owner, and you got a few guns, and you got high-capacity magazines. You add these up, and you could be talking about in the thousands.
Good morning, Trace. I appreciate you having us. And you're right. We look at there are about 20 million modern sporting rifles, or what Joe Biden would call an assault rifle, in circulation today. So if we're looking at that at a $200 tax stamp plus the 150 million plus magazines that go along with those firearms, we're looking at possibly over $34 billion that are going to be levied on gun owners for a policy that we know doesn't work.
And yet, gun sales are through the roof. I want to put these numbers on the screen for you if I can, Mark. It shows this is through October of this year, right? 16.5 million guns sold. That's 1.6 million more than 2016. That's a 33% increase, as you see there, from 2019. First-time buyers, 7 million weapons. What do you make?
That's impressive. I can pause this, so I set it up so that way. 7 million new gun owners. That's phenomenal. And we wonder what happened to all the ammo.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's a phenomenal number.
Well, I think, and I touched base on this, I think on our last time I was here, but Colin Noir just came out with another one, and you had a piece on there with him, but you start looking at this tax, right? The tax on what you already own.
Yeah.
Essentially additional property tax. who does that really hit? It hits the poor people,
Oh yeah.
right? If you're, in really, if you look at the history of the NFA, you look at the 1939's NFA, handguns were originally on that NFA, and it got shot down. And the whole point of it was to inhibit the poor from being able to own a firearm, because $200 in 1939
It's a lot of money.
significantly more than where we are now. And fortunately, I don't own any assault rifles, and I have standard capacity magazines.
Yeah.
So I'm not paying squat to attacks or nothing. And I seriously doubt they're going to send a bunch of folks to your home to get them.
Yeah, they're not going to come dig through your stuff.
Yeah, no. But should that time ever come, they'll get them bullets first.
Oh yeah. It's I don't know. Those numbers were staggering though to me, and the fact that how much money they're going to make off taxing people, or their estimate, that's absolutely insane.
I think they're going to have to pass a tax to make it happen.
Right.
And depending on Georgia, I doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it will either. So I tried to pause this. Let's see if I did this right.
Take of these numbers, Mark.
Yes.
What it tells you is that the American public is voting with their wallets. They know where they want to be when it comes to taking access to their rights. And they're choosing that they want to make sure that they have the ability to protect themselves and their loved ones. They are going out in record numbers, breaking all previous records, with still 2 months left in the year to go, which are typically our strongest months for firearm sales. This tells us the American public is going to choose safety for themselves and choose to exercise their rights.
We see that gun numbers are going up as far as sales go. And who's buying them, you ask? Well, the Heritage Foundation wrote this, quoting here, "You always have your sort of usual suspects, your middle-aged, what people consider like the stereotypical gun owner, but you're also seeing very..."
Do you look like the stereotypical gun owner?
I hope not.
very large increases in percentages that are either minorities or women. Minorities and women buying a lot more guns. And to that you say what, Mark?
This is something we should celebrate. Every American who is a law-abiding citizen has the right to exercise their Second Amendment rights. And we should celebrate that as we would celebrate anybody else exercising their rights. 40% of today's new gun buyers are women. The largest demographic increase of any group was among African Americans at 58% over 2019 figures. And this is something that we should celebrate, that today's gun owner is looking a little bit less like me and more like the rest of America.
I will say that I have had more women come and take my classes. More women come and take my classes. And older women, like widowers, women in their 60s. In fact, I've got a couple coming next week. They were it's amazing just to see this switch, right? They were very, I've been talking to them. I don't forget their names, but I've been talking to them via email. She goes, me and my friend, she's never handled a gun. I've handled one like 30 or 40 years ago. We want to bring our handguns. We want to bring our rifles. We want to schedule 2 days, 2 classes with you. And we want those 2 classes to be exactly 2 days apart. I mean, they are laying out exactly what they want. They've got Glocks. They've each got a Glock. They've each got a Hellcat. They've each got an AR, and they got a couple hunting rifles. And we want to know the safety. We want to know how to use them. We want to know how to load them. We want to know the fundamentals. We want to know she laid it all out. It's freaking phenomenal.
That is great.
It is great. I love
to get more people out there, more people educated about it is going to be awesome. And I think the little piece we can throw in there is pay attention to the language that's being thrown around, because they're talking, assault weapons, and everybody goes, well, it's an assault weapon. And the first thing they hit to is an AKM variant or an AR-15 variant.
Yes.
They didn't bother to pay attention to the language that says your Glock 19 is considered an assault weapon because it's capable of taking more than 10 rounds.
Right.
Not that it actually does, or that you have a California restricted magazine,
right? But
it is still capable of taking that, and that sits as that assault weapon. So all those folks, our women buyers, generally run out and they're buying semi-automatic handguns. Now, there are some revolver shooters out there, granted, but they're thinking, well, that doesn't affect me. I don't have to pay that $200. Right. And then they have a 15-round magazine, or they buy something that's affordable, like a Ruger Security 9 or something like that. Those are on that assault weapons list.
Well, what kills me too is, I can't remember the old poem or whatever. I've heard it numerous times, but it's, I don't, they're going to come for these assault weapons. They're coming for the AR-15s, right? And the AK variant and all that stuff. I don't own those, so I'm okay. Come take them. I don't care.
Bump stocks.
they're going to then bump stocks, and and who's going to stop them? Well, they'll come for your semi-auto handguns next, right? Then they're going to go after your bolt action rifles, and then they're going to go after your revolvers. I mean, they're just going to keep coming and coming and coming, and you've got to pay attention. Gun owners as a whole need to stand up and say, no, you can't have our bump stocks. No, you can't have our AR-15s, because if they get one thing, they're going to come after something else.
Yeah, and they're already working it, whether they're from the outside in. ATF's issues on the braces, right? The brace is the hot topic right now. What they're not paying attention to is the ATF's new standards of testing for import pistols. And, and they're very subjective. It could be, an 85-pound lady running an HK MP5 pistol variant.
Mm-hmm.
And because she can't fire it with one hand or function it, as the definition, that is now a banned import gun. The AKM variants that are, they're slightly unwieldy for one hand, but it's capable of shooting one hand. The ATF is subjectively just going, no, that doesn't count. And by the definitions that they have laid out there, it is a pistol. It's registered as a pistol, was designed and built as a pistol.
Right.
Adding crap to it doesn't make it any less than a pistol. If you're going to prosecute somebody for not being able to fire that thing with one hand, then you're going to have to go after every law enforcement agency and trainer in the country, because modern shooting techniques with a handgun requires two hands.
Yeah, exactly. Let's finish this up here.
Although some believe that Biden's policies will save lives. The following here says, quoting here, we can count on Biden and Harris to address gun violence and save lives via executive action, and we look forward to standing behind them every step of the way. That is the spokesperson for Everytown for Gun Safety. Your thoughts?
When we look specifically at this policy of him wanting to register all modern sporting rifles under the 1937 National Firearms Act, 1934 National Firearms Act, forgive me, we look at that. The CDC actually studied the assault weapons ban in 1994, and that they found in that study that there was no appreciable impact on the reduction of crime. What we're talking about is a crime problem. Law-abiding citizens who are owners, gun owners, are overwhelmingly abiding by the law, and they are not the issue. We have a problem with crime in America, not with law-abiding gun owners.
We have talked much of this show about the fact that crime is going up in all the major cities across the country. I want to put a quote from you lastly here, Mark. You say, quoting here, President Donald Trump vowed to safeguard this right, and former Vice President Joe Biden and his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, have both embraced outright confiscation of lawfully owned firearms as the headliner of the most far-reaching gun control agenda to be presented to the American voter. It seems like a fairly strong statement. Do you still stand by that, Mark?
We do stand by that. We have to understand, at the beginning of this presidential campaign, back in July of 2019, Joe Biden stood on the debate stage with all the other Democratic candidates and said, the firearm industry is the enemy. Now, he was talking about me, Trace. I'm a 25-year Marine Corps veteran. I've served my nation as an oath of service to uphold and defend the Constitution. And he's calling me and my industry, which provides the law enforcement and the military their firearms and provides the means for citizens to exercise their Second Amendment rights. He called us the enemy. And all the policies that he's laid out are demonstrating that he is doing everything that he will to destroy this industry.
Well, we are proud of your military service. Mark Oliva, it's good to see you, sir. Thank you.
So there you go.
I got a lot to say on that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's crime has gone up. I wonder if they're including any of that writing, his crime.
No, probably, or where they shoot Trump supporters in the back.
Yeah.
No, I think Joe Biden, and this is my my little conspiracy theory rant. I think Joe Biden's aim is to protect life by disarming the American populace, and it won't be any of the American lives.
Right.
Told you guys once before, I switched to blue targets for a reason.
Right.
And it's a disarmed populace is much easier to control. It is much easier to bring in foreign folks, because for better or for worse, there are good and bad elements in law enforcement and in our U.S. military, but for the vast majority of all of those folks out there, they're patriots, they're family people, they're not going to come and haul you off to a camp. Much easier when you don't come from this country,
right?
And just roll on in under a UN or some sort of climate crap or whatever they want to show in, and they don't want to shoot him back. And that's how he wants to protect human life. I don't think he gives a rat's ass about Americans.
Right. What it boils down to is all about control. They don't really have a problem with firearms. They have a problem with us owning firearms.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what it is. It's all about control. If they get the firearms, they can do whatever it is they want. You can't fight back. They're going to try to control the food supply, and we're going to be like Cuba.
Toilet paper.
Yeah, and toilet
Fight
paper.
for toilet paper.
And and you don't do what you're supposed to do. Guess what? You're not going to get food for that week. And then when your family is there and they're hungry, you're going to probably give in and do a lot of things to feed your family. I mean, a lot of people do. So,
yeah. I think they ate all the zoo animals in Venezuela.
Yeah, do whatever you got to do, man. But anyhow, I want to say thank you for coming out and joining me tonight. Appreciate it. We'll have to get you back out here a little more often. When it gets, I know we're just getting into winter. When it warms up again, we'll have to have you come out and shoot with the guys, and then we'll all get in here and do another podcast.
That'd be great. Appreciate it.
Together. That would be fun. I look forward to doing that. But until then, I hope you guys all had a good Thanksgiving. And I'm trying to get something, I don't know what yet, but plan something different for one, like a Christmas episode. I don't know what I'll do. I'm not real Christmassy. I'm not that kind of guy. I think last time I played a bunch of songs, people were playing with guns or something. Christmas songs. I'm not sure what. I have to look that episode back up again. It was difficult. I know that to put it all together. But I'll come up with something. But until then, everyone have a good time. Have a good week. Get out and put some rounds downrange. If you can actually go out and just find some ammo, that would make for a successful week.
Send us the links.
Yes, I'm looking for small pistol primers. And I appreciate you sending me those links, but I just spent a lot of money on a computer and a gun, dude. Keep sending them.
They're still on there. I think it's a guy in Utah.
Yeah, keep sending them. I appreciate it all. So share this with your family. Share this with your friends. I would appreciate it. Make sure you hit subscribe. And I tell you what, I'm really trying to push a bunch of people toward the YouTube page, the Patriot Defense YouTube page. And if you can go over there and, if you don't want to listen and you just like listen to the podcast, that's fine. You don't want to watch the podcast. I understand. But at the very least, go hit subscribe for me. I got to get 1,000 subscribers. I'm at 68. I got a few to go. But if you want to share this on your social media page, that would be wonderful. I will thank Samuel Cowan. I know Sam. He lives in the next town over from me. He got on here and he subscribed to our subscribe to the YouTube page. I do appreciate that. If you got any comments or questions, you can always reach me at area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. And I was going to mention, I did have a handful of listeners actually get a hold of me. They shot me text messages and they got a hold of me via Facebook. And I appreciated that. And I didn't get those written down. So I will discuss that. We'll discuss that on our next podcast. But get a hold of me, say hi. We like to hear from all kinds of people. I don't care what country you're in. Get a hold of me and let me know you listen. I'd appreciate that. Until then, I am probably going to get this episode released this weekend. And I think I might be doing another one tomorrow night. So you guys might get lucky and get 2 shows this week.
That'd be great.
We'll find out. But until then, see you guys later. Stay safe.